Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by MMA up-and-comer Paige VanZant. Paige, how are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Paige, let's go back to the beginning. How did you get interested in MMA? Let's talk about, before you decided to do the fighting thing, what piqued your interest in MMA?
Well, actually, me and my dad were pretty good friends. We're pretty close, and he was a wrestler all through high school and a little bit of college, and he actually got into the MMA and asked me to try a class with him just for fun. And we went one day, and I fell in love with it, and I haven't stopped since.
So when you got into this, you didn't think you were going to fight? You just thought that you were going to train?
I never had intentions of fighting at all. I started training actually at the Lion's Den with Ken Shamrock, and he was the one who told me that I had potential and I should think about fighting. And at the time, I was only 16, so I started slowly making my way into the fighting, and I ended up loving it. And so once I turned 17, I had my first penetration fight.
Mm-hmm. From what I understand, you also did some ring girl. And why did you decide to go from ring girl to fighter? Was it any fights you saw and you're like, I can do that? Why did you decide to become a fighter?
Well, when I changed gyms and I went to Reno Academy of Combat, when I walked in, they actually offered, at the time they were holding tryouts for the ring girl auditions, and they're like, hey, are you here to be a ring girl? I was like, no, I'm actually here to train. And sometime later, I thought about it, and I was like, I want to be a ring girl. So I was pretty close with the coach, Rick Hollip, and he went ahead and let me be a ring girl. And I had been a cheerleader my freshman year, and I danced for 13 years before I started fighting. So being a ring girl was right up my alley, and I loved it, and it was a way to get closer to the cage, and I could sit there and watch the fights from the front row, and I just loved that.
Mm-hmm. So it was basically more of a way for you just to be a fan for free. I mean, you didn't have to pay to get in.
Exactly. Yeah. I could be right up front, and as all the other ring girls were not paying attention and closing their eyes, I was up in the action and cheering everyone on.
Mm-hmm. So what did your parents say when you decided to make the transition from somebody just training MMA to, actually trying to pursue this as a career? You said your dad got you into it, so I'm assuming he was very supportive.
Oh, my dad, both of my parents support me completely. They love that I'm doing this sport. My dad loves it more than my mom probably. She can't stand watching it, but she knows I love fighting, so she's going to support me through it all, even if she has to close her eyes most of the fights that she watches.
Mm-hmm. RYU fight team, how long have you been training there?
Oh, I went to Reno Academy of Combat for about a year, and that really pushed me. They made me a really tough fighter, and I just needed a change. I needed to get out on my own, just motivate myself to push myself and get farther into the MMA in my pro career. So that's when I made the move to Las Vegas, and I've been training with the Rue team, with Ron Frazier, and it's been amazing. And he really knows how to push us and I've learned a lot more techniques that I didn't know in the past.
Mm-hmm. Who are some of the training partners that you have there? Are you training mostly with men? Are there female fighters there? What kind of training partners do you have?
Right now it is just male fighters there. It's a little harder. There's not a lot of girls, but what is nice is I get to train with 125-pound male fighters, 135, which even though they are a heavier weight than me, they're around, I can still learn a lot from them without them completely overpowering me. And it's still a learning process, and it's a way for me to push myself and get a lot stronger. And so that way when I do fight with a 115 girl, it's going to be a lot easier. It's not going to be as hard as fighting. It's going to be a lot easier than training.
Mm-hmm. Is Taylor Stratford, is she still helping you out?
Taylor Stratford is amazing. She's still one of my best friends, and she's there for me whenever I need her. We talk on the phone pretty much every day, and we ask each other how it's going. We we lived in Reno together, and she moved out to California, and when I moved to Las Vegas, and we still stay in contact, and I call her and I ask her questions, and she looks up the fighters that I fight, and she gives me tips and ideas, and it's just, there's a really good friendship between us still.
Mm-hmm. Paige, what's your favorite part about MMA?
My favorite part about MMA is just proving to people that a little girl can be feisty and tough and strong and do whatever she wants. I love that I can show everyone that even though I am small, even though I may not look like a fighter, I still can be tough, I can protect myself, and I just want to empower women to be able to stand up for themselves, to get self-defense, to know that if they're walking down the streets, they're going to be protected, they're going to be safe.
Mm-hmm. When you're, going to these fights and people find out you're a fighter, what do they say to you? Are a lot of people, surprised because you are a very good-looking girl? What's been the reaction? I'm just curious.
Well, thank you. And a lot of what they say is, first they say, no way. There's no way. And maybe I'll pull up a fight on YouTube, or I pull up my Facebook, and I show them that, yes, I am actually a fighter. And the reaction is, usually they ask why. And again, I tell them exactly why I'm in the sport and why I love it and how it makes me feel strong and it makes me feel like I can stand up for girls. And then that's pretty much, they ask me why I would want my face to get hit. They say I should be protecting my face, and that's pretty much the reaction I get from everyone who questions why I'm a fighter.
What's the worst injury you've had so far?
So far, I have been lucky enough not to hurt myself very badly. I actually did break my knuckle. I never went and got it fixed, so it is still broken. It's just the cartilage healed over. It looks a little funky, but other than that, I've stayed pretty safe, and so I've been really lucky not to have too many injuries.
Paige, if fans out there who maybe have never seen you fight before or never heard of you, how would you describe your fighting style?
I would describe my style as, I guess, freestyle. I love stand-up. I love being able to stand there. I love kicks, just because I was a dancer before, and I feel that, my kicks are a lot stronger. But on top of that, if it goes to the ground, then I feel I'm very well-rounded, and I'm very well on the ground as well. So I don't have any style that I prefer, but so I guess I would consider myself freestyle.
You mentioned the part about being a ring girl, being close to the action. You're obviously a fan of the sport, but how big of a fan are you? Are you watching, all the UFC pay-per-views? You're watching Strikeforce on Showtime? You're watching Bellator on MTV2? You're watching Invicta on the internet? How big of a fan of the sport are you, and how much do you watch?
I actually should watch more than I do. I watch as much as I can. I have a pretty busy schedule along with work, so I don't actually spend that much time watching TV. But I love the sport. I read the magazines. Whenever I get time, I do watch it on TV. And I like to keep caught up on Facebook with all the other girl fighters and how they're doing, and just stay connected through social media.
Who are some fighters that you enjoy watching?
I do have to say Misha Tate is one of my favorites. Cyborg. I do like Cyborg. Other than that, my favorite fighter will always be Taylor Stratford, and I'm excited to see where she goes with her fight career as well.
I see. Has she turned pro yet, by the way?
She had her pro fight lined up. She ended up getting injured. She hurt her knee very, very badly, and so once that heals, she's going to be back in the action 100%.
I see. Paige, how did you get your nickname 12 Gauge?
It's actually a funny story. I got my nickname from a post on Facebook. I posted on Facebook, I need a fight name, any ideas? And through the list, that was one of them that came up. And me and my dad have gone hunting. We grew up in the country, so I ride four-wheelers, I ride dirt bikes, I go hunting with my family, and it was just kind of a funny one. And I was going down the list, reading them off to my parents, and I was like, 12 Gauge, and my dad's like, that's the one. So it was just kind of a mutual agreement that was the one, and we ended up loving it and going with it.
Now, Paige, you only had one amateur fight before turning pro. Why did you decide it was time to go pro? after only one fight?
You know, I was hesitant about going so fast, but I feel my coaches and me talked about it for about 4 days before I actually took the pro fight. And what I really thought about was going pro is the main goal. It's the main place you want to be with a fighting career, and I had it handed to me, and it was right there, and it was my choice to take it or not. And I was like, you know what, it's there, I'm going to do it, and if I don't have an amazing pro fighting career, I have all kinds of things to fall back on. I'm very passionate about a lot of other sports, about a lot of other activities. I'm really passionate about school, so it was just an opportunity, and I thought, why not?
You made your pro debut back in June against Jordan Geza. You won the fight by split decision. How did you feel about your performance in the fight?
You know, I definitely feel that I could have had a better performance in that fight. Jordan Geza is a very, very tough athlete. She's very good at her ground game and her jiu-jitsu. I went in on short notice. I didn't really know how tough of a fight it would be, and I kind of psyched myself out, but I feel I did perform fairly well. From looking back on it, I can tell I've gotten a lot better since then, and I know where my mistakes are, and I know where I need to get better, and from every single fight, win or lose, it's just a growing experience.
In the third round there, she threatened first with a guillotine, then with a rear naked choke. How close were those submissions? How much danger were you in?
You know, the first one wasn't locked in all the way, the guillotine. I knew I was safe. I was pretty comfortable in that position, and then knowing how to get out of a guillotine. The rear naked choke was locked in pretty tight. But I was praying to God. I was like, Lord, please do not let me tap. I was like, I cannot tap right now. So I knew I would pass out before I tapped out. And I could hear, my corner at the time was Taylor Stratford, and I could hear her voice. And I knew if I could hear her, then I wasn't asleep yet, and I was fine. And then the bell rang, and it went perfectly.
Your first and only amateur fight lasted only 50 seconds. I'm sure you would have loved to have gone in your pro debut, gone in there 50 seconds and get a submission, but was it good that you went 3 rounds, considering that you don't have that much experience? Was it good that you got that cage time in?
It was. It was really good to go all 3 rounds for me. I felt that I learned a lot, and it went by. It was so fast. I wasn't expecting it, 9 minutes to be that fast, but I didn't learn a lot from my first fight. I didn't know what I was capable of. I didn't know how good my technique was. There was nothing for me to grow off of. And now that I got through the 3 rounds with Jordan, it was a really, really good learning experience, and I knew where my weaknesses were, and I knew what I needed to focus on to get a little bit better from there.
How confident were you when the fight had ended that you were going to get the judge's decision? Because Jordan Geza, she's from there, that's her hometown, and she ended the fight real strong. How confident were you at the end of the fight that you were going to get the decision?
At the end of the fight, I knew I lost. At the time, I just had it set in my mind before the fight. If this goes to decision, I'm going to lose. Just because it was her hometown, and I knew that she's a hometown hero, and I was really, really upset when it went all 3 rounds, and I was like, I probably lost, but it's okay. I did my best. And standing there, and then hearing my name called for the win, I was just in awe. I didn't even know what to say. I couldn't take the ref wanted me to do like a victory walk around the cage, and I couldn't even do that. And I just hugged Tay, and I was speechless. It was a really, really exciting moment.
Now you've got a fight coming up at Premier Fight Series 2 on September 22nd. How's training been going for that one?
Training is going really well. I love the gym that I am at. Ron Fraser really helps. He's been putting in some extra time with me, and it's nice. I have a lot more techniques that I haven't had, and so along with everything I learned from Reno Academy of Combat, I feel I have a really good background going into this fight. And I actually did get sick a few days ago. I was pretty sick, so I took 2 or 3 days off at the gym just to recuperate, and I feel better, and I'm ready to go for the next few days to training before this fight.
So today was not the last day of hard training. You're still going to go into next week a little?
Yes, I like to train all the way up until the fight. I'll probably train until Thursday and have weigh-ins on Friday.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is going to be in her hometown. I think she's from around there.
I believe so.
Amber, I hope I don't get her name wrong. Yeah, Stotson, whatever you said. How much do you know about her?
I don't know a lot. I know she actually is a very, very nice person. I've talked to her on Facebook before. I talked to her before my fight with Jordan. So I know she is very nice. I've watched a few of her. I've actually only been able to see one of her fights. And I feel that she's a very, very tough competitor, and it should be a really good fight.
Mm-hmm. And this is going to be another short notice fight. And when did you get the call that you were going to come in and take this fight?
You know, I actually got the call about a week ago. Mm-hmm. So I haven't had a whole lot of time. I didn't have a whole lot of time to think about it, but, you know, I did good with taking the Jordan fight on short notice, so I thought I might as well do it.
Did you have another fight that you were preparing for, or were you just going around your regular routine and this came up?
I was just going around my regular routine and this came up. I had no expectation that there was going to be a fight anytime soon.
There's people who have been talking out there about Invicta because should you win this fight, you know, they're trying to build a 115-pound division. Are you focused on that? Is that something that, you know, should you get a win here that you hope that happens, that you'd be fighting there for your next fight, or are you going to take some things slow and just see where it goes?
I would love to fight for Invicta. That would be amazing. I do like to take it one day at a time, though, so I don't have my mind set on that. That would be amazing. It would be a wonderful thing to achieve, but I like to live one day at a time and just see where life takes me.
I want to talk a little bit about some outside the cage stuff. If I understand correctly, when you were in high school, you did a program where you could obtain college credit as you did high school courses, correct? And you were in a culinary program. Are you currently in that program, or have you completed that program?
I actually took, I've already done my first 2 years of college, so I'm a little bit ahead. I do love culinary arts. I love cooking. That's another one of my passions. Now that I moved to Las Vegas, I am a few years ahead school-wise, so I decided to go ahead and take a year off of school, focus on the gym, and I'm just getting a part-time job because when I was training for my last fight, I actually had 2 jobs. I was going to school full-time, and I had the gym, so I was a little busier, and it's nice to have one thing to focus on right now.
You said cooking's your passion. What's your specialty? What's the dish you're known for?
I am known for making amazing pasta. I love cooking pasta, Italian food. I actually make really good tri-tip.
Cooking, that's one of your interests. What are some other hobbies? What are some of your other interests, you know, outside of fighting and outside of cooking?
Well, along with fighting and cooking, I was a dancer for 13 years. That's still going to be something that follows me. I love to dance. I did grow out of it, though. It became more of a chore. I wasn't as excited to go to dance, and now that I have fighting, it's something that I can look forward to, and it's something exciting. I've fallen in love with pretty much everything that I do, so it's kind of tough for me to pick just one thing to focus on. So right now, it's just the cooking and the fighting, and I'm probably going to get another part-time job just because I love being busy and doing things and meeting people.
You said you don't watch that much TV, but when you do have a chance to watch TV, what are some of your favorite shows?
My favorite shows are Chopped, which is a cooking show, Iron Chef, which is another cooking show, and pretty much anything on Food Network or the Cooking Channel. I love watching cooking shows, which makes it an extremely difficult room-cutting weight.
What were some of your favorite shows when you were younger? Did you have any sitcoms or anything like that?
I don't have a lot. I didn't watch a whole lot of TV growing up. We lived out in the country, and I don't even believe we got a TV until I was around 13 years old.
Wow.
And once I got that, I was obsessed with everything on Disney Channel. And looking back, I actually do remember watching a lot of the Cooking Channel with my grandparents. Me and my grandma were really close, and we loved to watch the Taking Channel together, and that's when I got into college. I decided that I woke up one day and I was like, I've always liked to cook. So I switched. I started as a nursing major, and I switched over to a culinary arts major.
What are some of your favorite movies?
Some of my favorite movies. Well, I love comedies. My favorite movie right now is Step Brothers. That was one of my favorites. If it was something other than a comedy, I do love A Walk to Remember. I love the romantic movies like The Notebook. Those are some of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. And what's some of your favorite kind of music? Are you rap? Are you country? Are you pop? What style of music do you like, and who are some bands or some singers that you like listening to?
Well, I grew up listening to country, so I will always have country music be a part of my repertoire, and I love hip-hop. I do love hip-hop music, and so I'm listening to hip-hop all the time. I love country music, and alternative is pretty good, too. I listen to a variety of music. I don't have a preference. Growing up in the dance world, you learn to listen to all kinds of music when you change the different style of dance you're doing. So I got shown a lot of different musical types.
Mm-hmm. Paige, last question. What are your goals in MMA?
My goals in MMA are just to go as far as it takes me. And if that's one more fight, if that's 10 more fights, 20 more fights, then that's all it's going to do for me. I love fighting. It is very fun, but I don't want to make it my life. I plan on getting married and having a family and kids. I would love to be a stay-at-home mom. So if anything, if fighting could just maybe give me the financial support and have some stability when I have a family, then that would be amazing. Just to be able to be a stay-at-home mom and know that I can make it on my own and have all kinds of other things to fall back on.
Paige, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you would like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Yes, I would like to thank Respect Fight Gear, Outlaw Fight Gear, Dog Boxer, and Babies MMA, and of course my manager Brett Ashley, my parents, and I guess to say to the fans, keep on believing, and if you believe you can do it, then it will happen. And Todd faith in you, because he'll be there for you forever.
Paige, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck September 22nd at Premier Fight Series 2 against Amber Stutzenberger.